Volkswagen Rally, round 5 of the Sasol South African Rally Championship, kicked off in Uitenhage from outside the car manufacturer's factory and new Auto Pavilion Museum. With this being the 21st running of the Volkswagen-sponsored event, it was fitting to start the show from its premises. A healthy crowd turned out to view the cars, chat to the drivers and navigators, and take a peek at the historic cars in the pavilion. As always, the pre-start holding area also allowed the crews to...
So they're probably going to be difficult to beat, but it all makes way out of a nice mix, and I think, well, we're in for a good rally, I hope.
Yeah, the curse of the event sponsor has struck before. So it always tends to be very difficult for manufacturers to win their own rallies.
Volkswagen's been pretty good at this, though. They've won their rally for quite a few years, so I don't think there's any monkey on their back or anything. I think it's they're probably in with a very good chance of winning this one.
Yanni, going into your home event, so to speak, or your team's home event, fresh off a win and leading the championship, you must be pretty happy.
Yeah, it's, I think it's good to have a good buffer of points at this point in the championship. Yeah, as far as the event's concerned, it's a forest event. We like it. We've had a bit of rain, which means that dust is not going to be such a big problem. And yeah, everyone's expectations are high, including ours. So yeah, I think it feels good. The car feels good. The guys have once again found a couple of minute seconds in the speed, and I think we can use it. It'll pay off.
I was sidelined by 2 punctures, which cost him probably third place, but probably second even. And he was right in the mix from the start, so I hope he's going to be there again. And then Kemal at some stage has got to get used to his car again. He had the Sasol, came off a big accident, maybe settled in Sasol, and this is the one to start going again.
Who else do you expect to be knocking on the door? Etienne Lawrence, Enzo Kuhn?
Certainly Enzo. Enzo was very, very quick in the first day of the Sasol. And in fact, if he never got penalised, he would have won the event anyway. So he's going to be there, and Etienne finished very strong in the Sasol. It took him a bit of time, but they're constantly working on the car, so I think at some stage he's going to be right up there with them as well.
Last event was a Sasol traditional forest rally. We're back in Longmore Forest this time. How do these forests differ to the Sasol event?
So knew it was going to be a sprint from the word go, and he was hard on it, perhaps too hard, making use of a handful of verge. It was not to be a good event for Serge's son Jean-Pierre and Kobus Frey in their team total Toyota Corolla. The Class A7 car's engine cried enough on stage 2, ending their rally. It was their first mechanical retirement of the year, although the pair also failed to score in the Cape Rally after being disqualified for using the incorrect tyre size in one of the car park stages. The stricken Toyota had to be helped along to the end of the stage. Jürgen Fecken and Dave Levkovitz were hoping for a finish in their new BP Volkswagen Polo. After winning their class in the opening 2 events of the year in their old player, the switch to the Polo had been beset with mechanical problems. The car has shown superb pace, but suffered gearbox and driveshaft failures in its first 2 events. A good result in Volkswagen's own event would provide a welcome boost to their championship hopes. Enzo Kuhn and Guy Hodgson were first on the road in their Class A8 BP Volkswagen Golf. The pair had looked set to win the Sasol Rally after dominating the first day, but a 1-minute penalty dropped them to second in the final results. They were second fastest in stage 1 and shared the win in stage 2 to lie just 1 second off the leader as the crews tackled the first gravel stage of the event. They would finish third fastest on this stage. After the disappointment of not finishing the Sasol Rally, Serge Damso and Robert Paisley were determined to get back to winning ways in their Class A8 Castrol Toyota Run-X on this event. They won the first 3 rallies of the year to open up a healthy championship lead, but that was quickly lost with their Sasol retirement. With the point system allowing teams to drop 1 score, the pair knew that it could not afford another non-finish. This season sees the veteran chasing his 10th national championship title, all with Toyota. Damso set the equal fastest time in the opening 2 tests to lead the event by 1 second, but he was only 4th fastest on this stage, dropping him to equal second with Kuhn. Great on-board action from Jan Habich and Douglas Judd in the second Class A8 BP Volkswagen Golf. Fresh from their victory in the last round, which catapulted them into an 8-point championship lead, they were full of confidence and pushing hard. The pair was forced to retire from last year's event with engine failure in a torrid season, but the team had turned around its problems and they had finished every event this year. The reliability to go with a new shell imported from Germany before the start of the season has put Habich in a strong position to challenge for his 5th national championship title. Navigator Judd is after his 7th title with the pair in its 14th year of partnership, the longest in the championship. They blitzed this stage by 10 seconds over their closest rival to open up a 12-second lead. Etienne Lawrence and Andre Vermeulen have spent the season developing and familiarizing themselves with the Class A8 Team Total Toyota Run-X. The team bought the shell of Damso's championship-winning car for this season, but had to add its own mechanicals from its Class A7 car. It's taken Lawrence, who prepares his own car, a few events to get the Run-X to his liking, but he came on strongly in the Sasol Rally and expected to produce another solid performance this time round. Skalkberger and Vito Bonafide had enjoyed a strong start to the season in their Class N4 Bridgestone Subaru South African Impreza. Top finishes in every event saw them lying just 9 points off championship leader Habich and comfortable production car leaders going into the event. Class N4 rivals Johnny Gemmell and Greg Godrich were well behind Berger in the championship race after 2 non-finishes, but were determined to close the gap. Gemmell rolled his L&J plant hire Subaru into destruction while leading the Total Rally of South Africa, forcing him to purchase the Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 7 from Fernando Rueda earlier in the year. The Sasol Rally was the pair's first outing in the Mitsubishi, and they used the event to familiarize themselves with the car. After a torrid season in 2003 that saw them fail to score a single point, they won their class in the opening event of the year, only to be struck by the 2 non-finishers. A solid score on the Sasol was a welcome change of fortune, but Gemmell was hoping to pick up the pace on this event and be in the fight for the overall lead. He would set the second quickest time on this stage. They were 4th overall. The event, Fecken was under no pressure, but he was still pushing hard for a good overall result. He was just 15 points behind Damso Jr. going into the event, and a good result could have seen him equal or even pass the Toyota driver's tally. Fresh from a strong top 10 result on the Sasol Rally, Stefan van Dijk and Mark Pym were confident of another strong finish in their House of Subaru Impreza. Van Dijk was highly rated early in his career before missing a number of years due to financial constraints, but was now back in competitive machinery. Pretoria's Visser du Plessis and Theo van Westenhagen had cured the electronic differential problems that had plagued their Metmeister Outsure and Subaru Impreza in the previous few events. The problem was traced to a new differential ECU that the team had imported from England. Once the team reverted to the original ECU, the problem was cured. The old unit does not allow as much adjustment as the new one was intended to do, but at least it was working. The Diamond Broker had just finished 1 event all year, retiring from the last 2 events due to the ECU problem, and was reveling in the car going well. Stage 4 was run on the Aldo Scribante circuit, the cars circulating the circuit in reverse to the usual direction and using some of the pit area. The opening day of the Volkswagen Rally featured 5 spectator-friendly stages out of a total of 9, much to the dismay of many of the competitors who are not overly keen on this type of stage. Being a race facility meant that Aldo Scribante was better than the tight in-town stages, but competitors still had to mix speed with caution to avoid silly mistakes that could end a rally. Habich has no track racing experience to his name, but this does not usually hamper him on the tar stages. He was second fastest and maintained his overall lead. We let the footage do the talking.
Sweep right, to course right.
This section through the pits and paddock proved tricky and would catch out a number of competitors.
Turn tight 90 right, 150. Turn tight 90 right, do not cut. Turn tight 90 right. And left, keep the right and left.
Having raced Alphas, Fords and Toyotas on the track and notched up many victories and titles, Damso has many years of track racing experience under his belt and usually does well on these tar stages. This one was no exception as he won the 13-kilometer test by 7 seconds from Habich, closing the gap down to 5 seconds at the top of the leaderboard. Not everyone got it right though. Class A6 champion Craig Trott and John Costa came into this corner a little too hot in their team total Toyota Corolla and suffered a half spin. Fortunately it was harmless and they were quickly on their way again without too much time lost. Karth and Ferree would not realize their goal of a good finish. Their player had come to a halt and they were desperately searching for the problem on their laptop.
We seem to have an electrical problem. The car died on the last 90 right, and now we can't get it going. So we just want to have a look, see what's going on here.
You think that's your rally run?
It looks like it. I think probably about 10 or 15 minutes down the road already. So to get back on the road now is going to be pointless. But we'll see. If we can have some fun, we'll have some fun, but not today.
The course, as this time Chris de Wit and Patrick Yendi made a hash of it in their Class N2 Toyota Corolla. Fortunately, de Wit just managed to keep it out of the wall, but he lost about half a minute in this overshoot. De Wit and Yendi had experienced an unusually poor season thus far, finishing just 2 of the 4 events contested. Despite this, they maintained their class lead going into the event. Stage of leg 1 before the crews moved into the night stages. Habich had pipped Damso by 1 second on this short blast, but it was Gemmel who was fastest in the Mitsubishi. He was now 3rd overall, just 4 seconds ahead of Kuhn.
Johnny had a bit of a problem on the last event, but it seems to be going well today.
Yeah, there at the Nelspruit we had a damaged intercooler pipe which lost us a few horsepower, and we didn't pick it up till after the event. We were struggling, but now we seem to be going all right down here.
Kuhn was still first on the road after the break as he headed out to the first stage in the famed Longmore Forests. Mind the whistleblower. Kuhn had not been happy with the setup of his car on the tar stages, which he felt had cost him some time, but he was back up to speed on the dirt, setting the 2nd fastest time in stage 6. Without this stall, he might have been fastest, but the crowd would have been less appreciative. He went on to win the next stage. Dust is usually a problem during the night forest stages, but recent rains in the Port Elizabeth area negated that problem, and the roads were quite damp and wet in places. Many drivers have been against night rallying in recent times, but access to the forests was only allowed after 5 p.m, forcing the organizers to run in the dark. Damso grew up rallying in the forests at night, thus he is quite comfortable driving with lights. It showed in the times as he took the stage win by 3 seconds from Kuhn. However, Damso was not at ease with the handling of his car in stage 7 after some setup changes. It cost him 28 seconds and dropped him to 3rd overall. Habich went into stage 6 with a 7-second lead over Damso and was determined to hold on to it overnight. He was driving with all his usual speed and flair, but it was not enough to secure him the stage win. He was 3rd fastest, 6 seconds slower than Damso, and now led the rally by just 1 second. However, 2nd fastest on the next stage, just 2 seconds slower than Kuhn, saw him stretch that lead to 27 seconds. Many Volkswagen employees volunteered for crowd control duty, and they seemed to be having a great deal of fun. A string of minor problems meant Lawrence had found it difficult to get into a groove and was slightly off the pace. Nevertheless, he was joint 5th going into stage 6, just 15 seconds off the leader. He would lose a further 21 seconds on this stage, but nonetheless closed the gap to fourth-placed Gemmell to just 2 seconds. Duplessis is a fierce opponent of night rallying. Along with several other drivers, he took a wrong turn in stage 7 and lost a huge chunk of time. Some of those that got lost complained on safety grounds and were controversially awarded the slowest class time plus 10 seconds. The decision let a lot of teams off the hook. Stage 8 was another blast through the streets of Jeffreys Bay to entertain the public. With the World Championship surfing event on the go, the town was packed with people and they warmed to the spectacle of the cars. The course was a little over 1.5 kilometers long, taking a little less than 2 minutes to complete. Kuhn was 3 seconds slower than the fastest time, with Habich, Damso and Gemmell setting the equal second fastest time, just a second slower than the fastest time. After this stage, cars moved to the Van Staden's Pass for the final stage of the day. Kuhn and Habich set the equal fastest time, some 4 seconds faster than Damso. That left the 2 BP Volkswagen Golfs at the head of the field overnight. Lawrence is always very quick through these tight and twisty stages, and this one was no exception as he took the victory by 1 second over Habich, Damso and Gemmell. Becken had set some good stage times and was relishing a trouble-free run. He was comfortably ensconced in 6th overall and well ahead in his class. With 3 BP Volkswagens in the top 6, including 2 at the head of the field, it was a dream start for the event sponsor. Blackman was in a solid 7th place and still entertaining the crowds. The BMW is the only one of its kind in world rallying and, being the only rear-wheel drive vehicle in the field, is a perennial crowd favorite thanks to its sideways style and glorious sound. With the bulk of the rally still to go, just 30 seconds separated the leading trio. Behind them, Gemmell and Lawrence were tied for 4th.
2 Golfs at the front of the field. Must be good for the sponsor.
I think so, and it's also nice that Serge right there. It's going to be a big dice all day. And like we said earlier, Golf seemed to be on the right track again. It's surprising that Serge must have lost a bit of time in the one stage last night because he actually won the first one and then dropped a few seconds on the next one, so he's 30 seconds adrift. And big dice today, I think. Gemmell is still in touch, but a few seconds behind. So I think it's going to be a 3-car fight all the way to the finish.
We've seen there isn't much room for error and people dropping time. The pace that everyone's driven at the head of the field this year. Obviously, Yanni's in a good position, 15 seconds over Enzo, but we can expect all 3 to be flat out from the first stage this morning.
Yes, the thing about this area is it's quite rocky in places and it's quite easy to get punctures. And I think they're all going to be on wet weather tyres, which is more susceptible to punctures. So any puncture could upset the upper guard at the top and it can change the order quite quickly. But like you said, it's going to be a dice all the way through.
Interesting this year. Last year we spoke a lot about the reliability or unreliability, especially early in the season. This year the cars have all been pretty reliable and it's actually made for good action at the front of the field.
I think it's a case of they have to do that because if you lose anything, you're not in the rally. So all the cars being reliable, yes, touch wood. But you know, it just makes for a good rally. But we missed the 4-wheel drives aren't really in touch. And last year they were leading at this point in time. Scargate to withdraw his great deal last night. But Gemmell I thought would be a bit closer. Having said that, he might have had problems at night, dust or whatever the case might be. And I think he's going to be around there today.
He's got about a minute, I think, or just over a minute to pull back. Is that feasible for him to do?
At the pace they're going, I don't think anybody's going to pull a minute on anybody else. It's going to be a matter of maybe 10 or 20 seconds. So unless there's a bit of drama up front, I think he's got a hell of a job ahead of him.
The first stage of day 2 turned the rally on its head. A stone smashed a rear brake pipe off leader Habich's Golf, reducing it to front brakes only. It cost him 33 seconds and the lead. Making matters worse for Volkswagen, teammate Kuhn suffered a puncture 6 kilometers into the 27-kilometer stage, costing him a minute to Damso and dropping him to 3rd. And the stage would also claim Fecken with gearbox failure. Damso set the fastest stage time, followed by Gemmell and Lawrence to take the lead. Stage 11 further cemented the Toyota driver's advantage as he took another 5 seconds off Habich, with Kuhn third fastest, another 5 seconds back. Gemmell was again faster than Lawrence to stretch his advantage over the Toyota for 4th place. Blackman was still going well in 7th, but was coming under pressure from Bem. The top car BMW had run well thus far, allowing Blackman to familiarise himself with the car once again after enjoying very little seat time this season. Bem was also enjoying a relatively trouble-free run, and his confidence in the car was increasing. He was charging after his wrong slot the previous night at the disputed junction had cost him severely. Vulcan had a comfortable class lead and was under no serious threat for class honours, but he was having an almighty tussle with Yaku Bad for overall honours.
Charles, leading your class comfortably. You've had a pretty good event so far.
Yes, Ian, it's been...
Those were not over yet. Being first on the road, he came across a few surprises in stage 12. First, it was the cattle.
204 keep right. Fast right on the downhill, fast right downhill. The open hairpin right 100.
The cows cost him time to Damso, but there was more to come. He encountered a spectator's car coming from the opposite direction. The hazards of rallying. These eager fans were totally unaware of Habich's woes, but were enjoying the warm sunshine. Meanwhile, Habich continued pushing as hard as he could. He would lose 5 seconds to Damso, but under the circumstances, it was a superb performance. Let's watch him at work for the final part of the stage, and note the huge crowds on the stage. After his earlier problems, Kuhn knew he had no chance of challenging for the lead. With a relatively healthy gap to Gemmell, he just wanted to ensure a finish. Damso was at the top of his game and took his 3rd stage win on the trot. He was chasing his 66th rally win, a feat that would put him level with the all-time record of Sarel van der Merwe. Gemmell had opened up a gap to Lawrence, but there was not much in it. This spin after clipping a bank on a narrow piece of road did not help his cause. Lost 16 seconds to the Toyota and was now just 8 seconds ahead. He was fortunate, however, as the spin could so easily have spelt the end of his rally had the car slipped off the road. He was a little more cautious after this. Lawrence was having a solid, if not spectacular, outing. He was losing time consistently to the leading Class A8 cars, but was once again hot on the heels of Gemmell. He was still fighting Bem for position, but that did not stop him hanging the tail out for the spectators. Bem produced a mature drive, pedaling smoothly and quickly and chipping away at the BMW's lead in every stage. Jackie Jabert and Willy van Straten were over 3 minutes ahead in Class A6 in their Jojo Tanks Toyota Corolla and running comfortably in the top 10. It was a good performance from the pair. Duplessis was crawling along with a flat wheel, which allowed Ryan to close in and past the struggling Subaru. Duplessis, meanwhile, would suffer 4 punctures in 3 stages, costing him a claimed 16 minutes. Ryan had been battling with incorrect tyres, but was pushing hard and had moved from 12th overnight into the top 10. Mally Saville and Dean Riedlinghuis finished in the top 10 in their Auto Services Subaru in the last event and were keen to do the same here. They had some work to do to achieve this goal, though. John and Douglas Williams in their tried and pressed Toyota Corolla were having a good scrap for Class N2 honours, with Christopher and Wessel Venter in similar cars, but held the upper hand. Rodney Versace and Carolyn Swan had been driving hard all event in their Team Total Toyota Run-X. They were chasing class leaders Vulcan and Houghton, but would go out with gearbox failure on the very next stage. After his spin on day 1, Trott lost over 3 minutes when his car refused to start on day 2 after oil had leaked onto the alternator the previous evening. Once going, he pushed hard to make up lost time, but it led to him hitting a rock and an embankment, costing even more time. Wessel Venter and Patrick Johnson were running second in Class N2 in their Helix Toyota Corolla and were trying their best to catch the class leaders. Andy Haig-Smith and Gerald Brace were running third in Class A6 in their Team React Toyota Corolla, but were far behind the class leaders. Gary Swimmer and Peter Davidson held the Class N1 lead in their Riken Volkswagen City Golf. The win would put them just 1 point behind the championship leaders. Class A5 leaders in Kosinati Nzimandi and Derek Jacobs were the only survivors in the class. This would be only their second finish of the year, but they were leading the class championship. After a healthy entry on the Sasol, it was disappointing that there were so few Class A5 and N1 entries on this event. Charles Stradom and Saki Bosman were fourth in the Class A6 Golf. Etienne Detroit and Patrick Vermaat were fourth in Class N2 overnight in their McCarthy Toyota Corolla, but their event would come to a dramatic end on the very next stage. Eugene Lawrence and Janine Labuskachny lost 7 minutes in penalties on day 1 in their Hitachi Tools Toyota Taz and were plodding along in second position in Class N1. Back at the sharp end of the field, where the drivers are more committed, Habich was giving it a full go to close the gap to Damso. With just 2 gravel stages to go, plus a short car part test, there was no more time to do anything but drive flat out, as Damso had predicted earlier. With 17 seconds between them, there was no room for error from either driver. Habich won the stage, but would it be enough to close the gap significantly? Contrary to teammate Habich, Kuhn was in no big rush and was just stroking the Volkswagen to the end. He failed to finish the first 2 events of the year, and a healthy points haul would be most welcome. Damso had to defend his lead against Habich and was thus flat out through this fast section. The cars are capable of over 200 kilometers an hour in top gear, and Damso was not far off this speed over this piece of gravel. Driving on the limit always opens up the possibility of the smallest mistake either costing valuable time or even elimination from an event, and even the best make mistakes sometimes. Take note how close Damso came to throwing it all away on this corner. Phew, that was a lucky escape. Sometimes you need a bit of luck. Let's take another look at that moment. We went in car with Lawrence to show you just how fast that long downhill section really was, and this was with a broken drive shaft. The drive shaft failure cost Lawrence over 2 minutes and brought to an end his hopes of beating Gemmell to the post. Vulcan was still pushing hard as he fought with Joubert for 9th overall. Could he maintain this pace and keep it on the road? The answer was no. The same corner that so nearly caught out his team leader was to spell the end of his rally as he crashed out in spectacular fashion. Yes, Charles, the camera did catch all that. It was Vulcan's second retirement due to an accident this season. Joubert was a little more cautious through the corner and was no doubt relieved to see Vulcan out of the fight. Duplessis also got all crossed up and nearly joined Vulcan in the trees. Ryan got through the corner neatly and was now well into the top 10. No problems for Saville either, who is now in 10th thanks to Vulcan's retirement. The Williamses were still ahead in Class N2. Trott knew he would not catch Joubert, but he was still pushing hard and enjoying himself. The action was not over yet. De Troy was also caught out and joined Vulcan in the trees.
There you go. Another one.
Vulcan still seemed a little bemused by it all and relieved that he was not the only one to go off on that corner, which was now looking a bit like a scrapyard.
Not the way we planned on finishing.
Punctures and tyre wear were a feature of the rally thanks to the rock surfaces. Sorrel explained tyre wear to us.
Sorrow, looking at these tyres, the old one here still looks as though it's got a lot of tread on it and should be good for more use, but you say it's not. Tell us why.
Well, it's certainly good for, you probably still get a couple of thousand kilometers out of it. But from a speed point of view, it's lost all its contact areas. If you look at the new one, that whole block is square and you have contact all over the tire. If you take the same block on the other side, you'll see that the leading edges are totally worn away. So the contact area is only those little raised edges there. And on that block, you've probably lost in the region of 70% of your contact area. If you look at the inner side here, that's even more so, because that is your contact area as opposed to the whole block. And it's lost the sharp edges, which also takes away the traction side of things. And this works against you both under braking and acceleration, and of course cornering, because the side of the various blocks are also gone.
Habich had won stage 13 by just 1 second from Damso, closing the gap to 16 seconds going into the final gravel stage. It was now or never for the KwaZulu-Natal businessman, but pulling back 16 seconds over the stage would be impossible, barring a problem for Damso. The Golf had run well all events and proven competitive with the Run-X of Damso. The Toyota arguably had the advantage at the start of the season, but the Volkswagen technical team had worked hard to find more speed in the Golf. There are many ifs and buts in rallying, but without the stone smashing the brake pipe off the Golf, the tables would have been reversed, with Habich holding a small cushion going into the final stage. How the Volkswagen supporters wished that were the case. The same could be said of Kuhn had he not suffered the puncture that scuppered his chances. What was encouraging was that both Golfs had run competitively and would make it to the finish line. Kuhn's championship hopes were dashed when he retired from the first two events of the year, but he had got back on the leaderboard with 5th and 3rd place finishes in the two preceding events. The solid 3rd here would help him climb higher up that order. Damso knew that a 16-second advantage would be impossible to overcome if he did not make a mistake. Thus he drove the last stage with some degree of caution. He finished 2nd fastest to Habich, but lost just 2 seconds in the process. With just the less than 1 kilometer car park stage left to run, the rally was effectively over with Damso the winner. It was his 66th and record-equaling win. It was also his 4th win in the 5 events contested this year, setting him up perfectly for his 10th national title. He was relieved to get to the end. Gemmell made it 2 out of 2 finishes in the Mitsubishi since acquiring the car from Rueda. 4th overall meant he took the production car and Class N4 honours to close in on 2nd place in the class championship. Lawrence had to settle for 5th overall and 4th in Class A8. It was a little disappointing after his strong performance in the Sasol Rally, but he had finished every event this season and was now 3rd in the championship. Blackman finished his first event of the year, but lost 6th place to Bem. Getting caught in Lawrence's dust when the latter broke the drive shaft proved decisive in his quest to keep Bem at bay. That's not to take anything away from Bem. He drove superbly throughout the event and was full value for his 6th place. He'll be one to watch in the future. Hubert and van Straten took Class A6 honours and 9th overall, another superb effort. He now leads the class by 6 points. The Williamses took Class N2 honours with 12th overall after a solid drive. They also took the lead in their class championship. Swimmer and Davidson won Class N1 in their Golf. While in Zimande and Jacobs were Class A5 victors. Lawrence and Labiskachny were the final finishers in 19th place, but their steady run netted 2nd in Class N1 to maintain their championship lead. The final stage was largely academic in terms of results. Highlighting the growing popularity of rallying, a huge crowd turned out to watch the final hurrah. The Bosel Subaru of Ryan was fastest over the test, giving him his first ever national stage win. He was 1 second faster than Damso and Kuhn, with Habich a further 2nd in arrears. So it was win number 4 for Damso by a scant 15 seconds. Volkswagen would have been relatively happy with 2nd and 3rd, but a win would have been ideal. Bem scored his best ever result with 6th, while Blackman was happy as punch with his first finish of the year.
So it's a slight hiccup in the last one, but back to form in this one.
Yes, it was a tough one for us today.
as I said, we lost a bit of time last night, but today we had a good rally, and Yanni was going very well. So we really tried hard.
It certainly was the smallest of margins. You even had to go in the last tarmac stage, which was only a kilometre long, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, you just have to make sure that you get to the end. So we didn't really push it too hard there.
And I believe this one ties my 66 records. Well done, Sergey. You certainly deserve.
Thanks a lot. That's nice to be. It's something to achieve something. And we've been around and we had good times together. So it all counts.
Well done, buddy.
Thank you.
Johnny, you must be getting tired of this. With the closest of margins again, right to the end, and anything could have happened, even in the last stage.
Yeah, no, look, a bit of luck will also help sometimes. We had a bit of bad luck with the brake pipes and, driving with just front brakes for 22, 24 kilometres and 30 seconds went down the tubes with that. So, 30 seconds is a lot in the game nowadays, and that's what it was.
Yeah, that certainly cost you the event, but at least you finished quite well again and only 14 seconds down. So you have kept your championship chances alive. Yeah,
I think, I think our championship has received quite a severe blow at this stage, but there's 3 more events to go, and, we'll do the best on those. Maybe we'll have a bit of luck there.
So another hard, fast rally, not much in it, and Serge emerging on top again.
Yes, there was a bit of ups and downs both ways. Serge lost a bit of time the first night, and the Volkswagens lost it the second day, but certainly very close. Closest of margin, 16 seconds or something, so bodes well for rallying. The bad thing is, though, that there's only 3 cars in the rally once again. That with the change of formula and the rest of it, what's going to happen? I hope we're just going to replace these 3 cars with 3 others, because that'll be a bit pointless, but certainly a nice rally to spectate.
But disappointing was the N4 cars. We thought they'd be more of a factor.
Yeah, Scott pulling out, of course, put a damper on things, but then I expected a lot more from Johnny, and you're starting to wonder whether he's still suffering from his accident he had 2 rallies ago. But certainly he got back again, although probably not in the position he wanted, but yes, we were a bit disappointed there.
Obviously VW would have liked to win, but at the end of the day, as you say, all the cars made it to the finish and all very close. I mean, we've seen that a few times this year on the rallies, and that's a good sign for SA Rallying.
It could certainly have gone either way. So yes, sponsors would like to win, and especially here where management came to watch but it doesn't always happen, and they've had their fair share of wins in their own event. So I don't think anybody's going to gripe. It was a good event. What it also done is it's that Serge is now certainly starting to look like the champion, because with another win, he's now got 4 under the belt. He can certainly start relaxing, or not relaxing, but he can certainly happily finish in the top 3 for the rest of the year and still win the championship, which of course puts a lot of pressure on the Volkswagen team. They have to win, or in fact Yanni has to win the rest of them, and hopefully from his point of view, so something's going to happen to Serge. But I think Toyota's been very professional this year, and the car goes like hell, and Serge did a hell of a job too.